Lakes Recreation Association. Under communications and announcements, you have in your packet a letter dated 12/22/14 from Mark West regarding their pipeline integrity management program. Under department committee reports, you have in your packets the water department report from Wade Trim, item A. Item B will be the fire department report. Item C is the zoning administrator's report. Item D, planning commission report. Item E is the PEG report, and item F, the sewer project report. And under the sewer project report, we will be hearing a presentation by Brian Sousa, who's Vice President at Wade Trim, on the sewer program that we're exploring. So he will be presenting tonight also. Under new business, we have item A, consideration of approval of a resolution to establish the trustees' annual salary. Item B is consideration of approval of resolution to establish the treasurer's annual salary. C, resolution to establish the supervisor's annual salary. Item D, resolution to establish the clerk's annual salary. Item E, we have consideration of approval of a resolution establishing poverty guidelines for exemption from property tax contributions. Item F is consideration of approval of amended investment and depository designation resolution. Item G is consideration of a proposed contractual services agreement whereby the County of Manistee agrees to provide the necessary personnel and computer services for tax map and assessment roll maintenance, tax rolls and tax bills under current legal requirements to the Charter Township of Filer for the 2015 calendar year at a cost of $3.96 per parcel. Item H, we have consideration of proposed contractual services agreement set summer tax collection between Manistee County and the Charter Township of Filer, whereby the County of Manistee agrees to provide the Charter Township of Filer with the necessary personnel, materials, equipment, and technology to prepare the summer tax billing for the state education tax 2015 collection at a cost of $1 per parcel. Any questions, additions, deletions to the meeting agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I so move.
Second.
Motion by Cruz, support by Kolonuski to approve the meeting agenda. Under the consent agenda. Oh, I'm sorry. Slow down. All in favor of the meeting agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now, consideration of approval of the consent agenda. On your consent agenda for tonight, you have item A, the minutes of the regular board meeting from January 6th. B is the financial report. C is approval of township general fund expenditures, including the fire department. Checks numbering 31999 through 32103. Accounts payable totaling $52,053.95. Payroll totaling $12,737.24 for a grand total of $64,791.19. Item D is approval of water department expenditure checks 2070 through 2081 totaling $17,626.97. Item E is approval for the Planning Commission members and zoning administrator to attend the MSU Extension 2015 Master Citizen Planner webinar series offered February through December of 2015. 6 sessions will be offered at a cost of $10 per session for Master Citizen Planners and $20 per session for others. Item F is approval of purchases of purchase of a filing cabinet for supervisor's office at a cost of $260 from Jack Pine. And item G is approval for Filer Township to join the Michigan Rural Water Works Association with annual membership dues of $350. Any questions on the consent agenda?
accept the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion by Hachinsky, second by Skira to approve the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, that brings us to a special presentation, and at this time I would introduce the Executive Director of the Manistee Recreation Association to give his annual report, Mr. Ken Cott.
Thanks for having me, guys. As Mr. Walker said, my name is Kenny Cott, and I'm the new Executive Director for the MRA, taking over from Vicki Sheffield. I'm a native Manistee person. I grew up, born and raised, well, attended high school, native Filer. Oh, I'm sorry. Apologize. As I said, native from Manistee, actually was in Filer Township up until recently. I currently now live in the city of Manistee. Taking over for Vicki Sheffield, I'm looking to continue our relationship as we have. You guys have been one of the biggest contributors to the MRA for years now, and I'd like to continue that. Let's see here. As far as funding goes, for participation rates, based on last year, Filer Township residents had 250 registrations versus 128 participants from Filer Township. We are asking basically a little bit less for this year than we have in the past. Amount between $10,422 and $11,464 versus the current contribution of $11,880. I have the participation list of all the people that participated in programs with the MRA, and I will leave that here as well as a contract for you to look over. If you guys have any questions at all, I'd be happy to answer them. I can leave this with you now, or I can send it at a later date, whichever you would prefer.
Why don't you leave it with us now?
Okay, yeah, we can do that. So do you guys have any questions about anything for me, or?
Any questions? Would you give me those rates again, Kenny? I wasn't writing fast enough.
Sorry, I know I was going a little quick there. Based on the 2014 participation rates, we're asking for an amount between $10,422.50 and $11,464.75.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Is Pop Warner through MRA?
It is not. Nope.
You don't have it?
Nope. That's a standalone organization, actually. It's its own. It's out. I think the office is somewhere near Travers.
Yeah.
I know we used to do football, the flag football and stuff like that back in the day. However, in more recent years, Pop Warner has been kind of run through different personal organizations.
But you still have a little league ball.
We have T-ball up through the machine pitch.
Yeah.
Yep. Hopefully in the near future, it would be nice to, get involved with some of those other organizations and possibly take them under our wing as well. But as of right now, that's what we have for baseball and T-ball.
And how is soccer going?
Good, very good. Yep, our registration for the soccer club actually is winding up here in about 10 days, and we've got almost full teams for a lot of our age groups, boys and girls. We anticipate quite a few more registrations in the next couple weeks or next 10 days. So, and MRA soccer, which is K through 5 or K through 5th grade, we've already got quite a few registrations for that, and that's not due until mid-March. So.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Kenny.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, in your package you had an opportunity to look at the letter from Mark West. Any questions or comments on that? Basically having to do with digging, number to call anytime we're doing any digging. Okay. Public comment. Any public comment this evening? Okay, then we'll move on to department and committee reports. Again, moving right through these quickly. Your water department report from Wade Trim is in the packet. I didn't see anything substantially different The only thing that was interesting to note for me is looking at well house, or well number 2, what it was producing now, what it was pumping compared to about 3 months ago before we had it rebuilt. It's back up where it needs to be. Fire department reports. Ron.
So we had a pretty busy month in January. We had 34 calls, 26 medical calls, 1 structure fire mutual aid in the city, 1 structure fire mutual aid in Stronach Township, and we had 1 structure fire in Filer Township. We had 3 auto crashes and 1 carbon monoxide alarm. Also this month, Assistant Chief Aspovic and I attended the active shooter training that was put on by Region 7 at the Sheriff's Office. It was a county-wide participation, very good turnout for all the classes. Started at 9 a.m. and lasted until 7 p.m. All the law enforcement agencies were there, representatives from every school in the county, and plans are being put together quite rapidly to ensure the safety of the children in the community. And this also applies to business and industry that may have disgruntled customers or employees that may decide to take some offensive action in their own hands. Also, not in my report, but that took place since we did this. If you saw the Manistee News Advocate with the big picture of the ice rescue training on the front page where Filer Township was never mentioned, we were major participants in that. We had people dressed and in the water and on the lake. And we had a rescue down there. It was very informative. We found that we're still using our original equipment that we purchased. We found out that our suits, the seams are starting to come apart, so we had some pretty large water leaks. So we're going to be looking at updating that, and then also adding to a little bit of equipment to our equipment for the safety of our own personnel. What we had originally set up was pretty short distance, like within a couple hundred feet of shoreline. The exercise that took place was about 600 feet away from shoreline out toward where people fish in the deeper water with shanties. So we're going to be looking at that. We're also going to see changes in our procedures where we will be on automatic assistance to the City of Manistee for ice rescue, and they will also be automatically responding to us for ice rescue. And what that does, it allows us to not duplicate all of our equipment. They will have equipment that we won't have to purchase because they'll be bringing it, and we will have some equipment that we will take to them so that they aren't required to purchase it. So it's a pretty good partnership. If we have multiple people in the water, it's going to make the whole situation a lot more safe than it is now and give us an improved chance of rescuing people that fall through the ice. We had a total of 242 calls last year. In 2014, 2013 we ran exactly 250. So it averages somewhere between 240 and 260 is right where we've been staying pretty much. That's all I have. If anyone have any questions for me? Okay, thank you very much.
Ron?
Yes.
Excuse me. Your notes indicate that the active shooter training was sponsored by Region 7. Who actually did the training session?
I don't remember the gentleman's name. It's a company. He's a retired state trooper. Started his own company and he designed this training. And what he does is he doesn't tell people what to do. He kind of guides them, gives them some points, and then everybody puts together their own plan as far as how it fits in their community. But it is actually a very good program used all over the state. Right now it's in Region 7. It started out in the southern part of the state, and now he's moving up to this area to start putting programs together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How are you coming with your vehicle?
Which vehicle?
The one you're redoing?
The Hummer?
Yeah.
Oh, it's all painted. We took a break from that. We haven't put all the emergency equipment on it yet because we started working on inside the fire station since it's cold outside. So we'll go back to finishing putting emergency lights and the siren on that as soon as we get the interior done of the fire station.
Okay.
Yeah, get some water. Under the zoning administrative report, you've got your report in your packet. Looks like there's a little bit of activity going on with the land use application for a new home and also a special use permit for a detached garage.
That's my son-in-law.
Oh, okay, the detached garage?
Yeah.
Okay. You have the minutes of the Planning Commission public hearing that was held on January 20th, as well as the meeting minutes from the same date in your packet. Shirley, is there anything you want to add to the Planning Commission?
We did have two special uses here, and like Ed said, his son-in-law is going to be coming for another special use permit application this coming month. So the planners have been very busy. We're going to be talking about the changes because of the Right to Farm Act 2, hopefully this month, if we can work it in. If not, that'll be held off for a month.
And that should be real interesting.
Yes.
Okay, item E is the PEG report. You were given that tonight. Dean, Dale, do you want to add anything?
The biggest thing, we haven't been able to have a quorum. We need more people for the pay commission. We're down to 4. So I'm putting anybody in the community that wants to get on the pay commission, please give us a call. We need more people, and we need more input from different other types of people so we can make PEG a better place for people to turn to on the internet.
Contact the city.
Contact the city.
Okay, thank you. Item F, the sewer report. We will be seeing a presentation tonight presented by Brian Sousa, Vice President of Wade Trim. He's been working with our ad hoc sewer committee. Before I introduce Brian, I would like to introduce 3 members of the Little River Band of Ottawa Indians that are in the audience tonight with us, Mr. Glenn Zering, Gary Lewis, and Mr. Virgil Johnson. Real happy to have you gentlemen with us tonight. Thank you for coming. At this time, then, I would introduce Brian Sousa with Wade Trim.
Thank you. You probably prefer that I stay at the podium? All right, I can do that.
That's going to be hard. You like to move around.
I like to move around, you're right. I do, that's for sure. I'm going to move this over just a little bit so I can do that. All right. Good evening, and thank you for your time this evening. As Terry mentioned, my name is Brian Sousa from Wade Trim, and I have the dubious honor tonight to talk to you about sewage and wastewater. And as I mentioned to the DDA earlier today, my kids got quite a kick out of the morning discussion when they asked me what I was presenting on today. And you can imagine some young kids when you tell them you're talking about wastewater, the first thing that comes out of their mind is their mouth even is poop. So it's quite the discussion with the kids around the table. So we'll see where it goes from there when I come home. But anyways, what I'd like to do tonight is kind of walk you guys through the process that we've been through over the last 14 months or so. I know the sewer issue has been something that's been in front of the township for many years, but I'm really going to concentrate on what we've done over the last 14 months, how we got to where we are now, and where do we go from here. Okay, so there's probably quite a few questions that a group can think of. Can I walk back and forth like this?
Yeah.
quite a few questions that a group can think of when they're talking about a sewer system. We came up with a few of those that are probably the more common ones. I am going to address these specifically, these questions today, but we're going to talk about what is the current direction and recommendation for the sewer system. How will sewage be handled? Make sure you can see all of that. What are the anticipated costs for the system? What are the anticipated costs to the users of the system? And how does this compare to some of the other options that we looked at? Specifically, we'll talk about connecting with the city of Manistee, because that was one of the other options that we spent quite a bit of time on. So just so you know, I'll be talking about these specifically. We've also got a packet of information on the back table that has these questions on it and answers listed. So if anybody wants to take one when they leave, they can certainly do so. Okay, how did we get to where we are? Well, as you guys know, there is the sewer project that was in front of the township a year ago, a little over a year ago, was for the collection system of the commercial district and then to deliver that sewage to the city of Manistee. Okay, and with the changeover in the board and some of the processes that were going on, everything seemed to be moving quite quickly. The township said, hey, let's stop for a second. Let's take a look at where we're going. Let's take a look at what we've done so far. And maybe we need to take a deeper look into what's going on. And from that, the DDA and the township said, hey, let's put a coordinated effort together. Let's bring somebody on to take a look at those documents, take a look at the direction and where we're going, and find out if this is the best interest for the township at this point in time. So that's what they did. They put together a proposal, request for proposals, interviewed firms, ended up hiring Wade Trim to kind of walk them through this process. And what we did is we reviewed the system as it was partially designed at that point. We reviewed the contracts that the township has with the city. We reviewed some other options that we could think of that the township may want to look at, and put cost estimates together for all of those, help select an option, and that's some of the items that we're going to be talking about today. Just so you know, there are three main options that we looked at as far as how do you treat your wastewater. The collection system really stays the same. Collecting it is, kind of mundane. You collect it through sewers. There's several different ways to do it, but it's, all ends in a collection of sewage. What we talked about mostly is what do we do with it from there? Do we take it to the city? Do we treat it ourselves? Do we take it to some other entity? So those were really the three options. Having the city treat it, taking it to your own wastewater treatment plant. How much would it cost for you to have build and operate your own wastewater treatment plant as a township? And then the other option was taking it to another entity, and in this case it was a Little River Band of Ottawa Indians, and I'm going to talk about that discussion here in a little more detail. So through all of that, we helped develop the master plan for sewer, and I'm boiling down 14 months of work in about 15 minutes. So if there's any questions as I'm going through, feel free to ask. And there'll certainly be time afterwards to answer questions. Developed 3 phases of sewer development within the township. First phase being the commercial district, obviously, which is one of the more important areas to get served with sewer. Second phase was the Oak Hill area, and third phase was Filer City. And then there was a fourth phase of some outside sewer, maybe from Stronach or something of that nature, but basically broken out into 4 phases. Also talked about project funding. You've got a project in front of you, how do you pay for it? And I've got some good news to share with the group as we go on tonight, and we'll talk about that in a little more detail here soon on project funding. So how do you choose an option? Obviously, you want the option to be the best option for the township, but there's 2 real basic items that you need to make sure. It's safe and reliable. Obviously, when you flush the toilet, you turn on your faucet, you want everything to disappear. You don't have to deal with it later, right? And it also has to be cost effective for the users. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're not creating an issue with some of those users and selecting an option that creates too much strife on the finances for the users, which really are the end result of how this system gets paid for. Okay, saw this slide. These are the questions that frequently asked questions that I'm going to go through here in the next few slides, and I'll go through them one by one and talk about each one in a little more detail. What is the recommendation? All right, basically we looked at it as far as 2 separate projects. Okay, you remember I talked about the sewer project that you guys had in front of you a year ago for serving the commercial district and then taking that sewage to the city. Well, that's really one project. The connection or the collection system in the sewer or in the commercial district would be one project that you've already approved. You already have funding in place for that through a rural development loan. Okay, and rural development is a division of the United States Department of Agriculture. Part of a federal program is where you're getting your money through a loan to pay for that. Okay. And as I go through this, if there's anybody here from Pine Ridge, just so you know, the numbers that I talk about today do not include Pine Ridge in those calculations. I know there was some concern before about including Pine Ridge, and I believe they at some point had asked to not be part of the project. So they are not included in the numbers that we have here today. So first project, again, the collection system in the commercial district. The second project for the recommendation really is delivering that sewage that you collect in your commercial district, taking it to the Little River Band of Ottawa Indians for treatment. Okay, so we would pump it there by use of a pump station and a force main. Force main really is just a sanitary sewer that we pump the material through. It's under pressure. It's not a gravity sewer, which would be different, but it transports the sewage to any location where we would like to take it. Okay, now, Little River Band of Ottawa Indians has a casino north of you, and that is where their wastewater treatment plant is located, near there. So the first question is, wow, we're Filer Township, we're south quite a ways. How are we going to get it all the way to the tribe? Okay, well, as I mentioned, it'd be through a force main. But the biggest piece of this that you need to remember is the tribe and Manistee Township are working together to create or extend a sewer into Manistee Township. Okay, bringing it south towards M55. All right, so when that happens, and that opens up an opportunity for Filer Township to not have to pump it all the way to the casino, we can pump it to 55 and 31, which is where then it will get into the project that they're working on now, and then will be transported to the tribe or to the casino from there. Okay, how do we get it just to that point? Well, as I mentioned, a pump station and a force main. The route of that force main was something that we scrutinized heavily. There were several options we looked at. Do we go right up through the city on US 31? Pretty congested area. US 31's full of existing utilities. Do we go south around the lake, through Stronach, through East Lake, and then come up the east side? Fairly expensive because of the length of the sewer that we would have to install to get around there. The other option is, do we bore and install a sewer underneath Manistee Lake to get from the west side to the east, basically right out the bottom of the hill here. Okay, and that's the chosen option. So what would happen is a force main would be installed under Manistee Lake by a process called directional drilling. We don't have to dredge, we don't have to dig from the surface. It would be drilled from dry land, and it would pop up out on dry land. So the force main would be then underneath the lake, several feet underneath the bottom of the lake. Then we would hit East Lake Road, follow East Lake Road to M55, M55 over to 31. And really the connecting point is where Old Kennedy School is, if you remember where that's located. So that's where that connection point would be. All right, so we've defined what the project is, what the options were, what the anticipated project would be, how much does it cost. Okay, well, if you remember, I talked about two separate projects, the collection system in your commercial district and the force main to take it to the tribe. All right, and that's kind of what I'm showing here is a two separate costs. The collection system as proposed for your commercial district, as proposed in 2012, had a cost of $4.3 million. And again, you guys have funding for that in place right now. You could start, once design and permits were done, you could start digging, and you've got money obligated for you through rural development to begin that project. It's the second one here, the pump station and force main to the Little River Band, that is the new portion, at about $3.5 million. Okay, so what I do then as an engineer, I call up rural development and I say, hey, I know they've got a loan through you for this project. We want to amend the depth and the breadth of that project, the scope of that project. Here are the numbers. What can we do here? Knowing that there's an opportunity for some grant money for the township once we get to a certain threshold. Okay, so, and I'll talk about that in more detail, but the total number then, when we marry these two together, would be $7.8 million for the collection system in the commercial district, and also for the force main to take it to the tribe. All right. So we we know how much it'll cost, but how does the township pay for it? And that's where I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of the funding opportunities. The original project that you had in front of you that I mentioned is funded. Part of the conditions of that were that rural development wanted the township to make a $500,000 contribution to the project. They want that to stay as we move forward. Okay, so that would stay. But this bottom line here is kind of the one that I really want to point out. They came back a week ago, just a little over a week ago, and said, Brian, we're willing to pledge a 45% grant for this project. And I was very surprised to hear that. Rural development does not issue grants very often, okay? And they have a varying degree of their participation in grants. 45% is the maximum that they will do on a project. All right, so when talking to them, and I was working with the state director, when she said we're willing to pledge 45% grant on this project, that is a huge deal for the township. In 16 years of doing these, I've never worked with a community that has gotten a grant through rural development. I mean, it happens from time to time, but you just need to understand that it doesn't happen very often. And usually when they do get a grant, it's not a full 45%. So there are several things that are important to them on this, and the biggest one is the collaboration between the township and the tribe. They like to see that type of working together, neighbors helping neighbors type of thing. So it's very nice that they're willing to work together on this project. So, and then the loan portion of that, remember I mentioned you had a loan before, would be $4 million in round numbers. Okay, but the important point to know about this is that loan that you had before for just your collection system was for $3.8 million. Okay, so we're adding a lot to the project, and your loan is only going up $162,000. So essentially the way you can look at it is that grant from rural development is essentially paying for the force main to take your waste to the tribe. Now it doesn't really work that way on paper, but if we could, with rural development, but if we could dice it that way, that's essentially what's happening. So that's why you're seeing a large increase in project cost, but such a small increase in the amount of money that has to be paid back, okay, because of that grant. And that grant is really what's making this a palatable project for the township and the users that have to pay for it. Okay, talked about the costs. I talked about how the township pays for it. Well, how does the township recover their costs? Because as I mentioned before, you've still got a $4 million loan that you have to pay back. It's just like a mortgage, right? So the way the township gets money in to cover those costs would be through user fees, just like your water system. You charge the users for what they use. It covers the cost of the system to repay the loan, covers operation and maintenance. It covers future replacements, covers a whole host of things. So this slide here, I'm going to talk a little bit about what the anticipated user fees are. Now what you need to understand also is all of this information is based on preliminary engineering estimates. And as we do, the design is not done. We have a good idea what it's going to take. But as these get refined, these numbers will get refined as well. But we're pretty confident that you will be, in these ranges. So, with the original project from 2012, there was a special assessment that was going to be put in place for that commercial district area along US 31. That would still be part of the project. So that would, we're anticipating a $55 per month per REU. Special assessment. And REU stands for Residential Equivalent Unit, and it's just a way of the industry trying to equate the flow you would see from a 3-bedroom single-family home and trying to equate it to what you might see from a business or something of a larger scale. It's not a real big deal. We can get into it in more detail if you'd like to, but that's really the crux of it. Okay, so that would be in place, and the users or the people in that special assessment district would pay that, whether they are connected to the system or not at that point in time. Once you connect to the system, then you will have a ready-to-serve fee and a consumption charge, which are basically monthly, like your sewer bill. Just like your water bill, you would have a sewer bill as that component as well. Okay, and it's anticipated to be a ready-to-serve fee of $15 a month. and a consumption charge of $13 per 1,000 gallons. Consumption charge just basically says how much, if you use 2,000 gallons in a month of sewage, or you send that much to the sewage into the system, you would pay $26 for that. Okay, so that's consumptions means how much do you send to the system, and it would be, and those are calculated through water use, water meters. Typically, 90 or better % of water that comes into a business or a home goes into the sewer. All right. Now there are some caveats to that, and some things to work around, and we can talk about that in more detail. Talk about that in more detail if you'd like, but we'll just try and keep it simple for the time being. Okay, so how do we compare this to the connecting to the City of Manistee? Well, one thing you need to know is when we went and reviewed the contract that is currently in place between the township and the city, we said, man, this is a good contract for one party of that one entity of that contract. We need to go back and talk to the city and see if they'd be willing to budge. So we went into some negotiations with the city. But while we were doing that, they were finalizing a rate study that they were having done. Okay, once that rate study was done, they reported, hey, we're going to be adjusting our rates. We now have an in-city rate and an out-city rate. So if you're in the city and you're connected to the sewer system, you pay one rate. If you're outside of the city, you pay another. And that's typical. It's typical to have two different rates. But the numbers you see on the screen here are the rates that were proposed and I believe adopted by City Council 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and are in place. Okay, so in order to compare the two, City of Manistee ready to serve cost per month. So this would be the township user would have to pay $65.08 just to have the privilege to use the system. If you're connected to it and you send no sewage to it, you're gone for the month, you're gone for the winter, you're going to pay $65 per month. All right, compared to the township at $15. Okay, consumption fee, again, that's how much do you send, how much sewage you send into the system. Cities at $17.52 per 1,000 gallons. And the townships would be $13 per 1,000 gallons. Okay, so if you add those two up, the typical bill that you would see if you were a single-family residence, and mind you, this is for the commercial district, not for a residential district, but this is a good way to kind of show what those costs would be. Assuming a 4,000 gallon discharge into the sewer, which is a typical volume for a month for a home, you'd pay $135.16 if you were connected, if the township was connected to the city, $67 with the township connecting to the tribe. Another thing that I need to point out, these costs for the city, those are what the city is charging the township, period. So all of that money would go to the city. You still have to collect a little more money so that you can pay off the loan, so that you can operate and maintain your system. So all of this goes away to the city. This comes into the township coffers. Okay, some of it's used to pay back the loan, some of it's used for operation and maintenance, some of it goes to the tribe. Okay, so the tribe's fee is in here. Now you need to know that the tribe is going through a rate study as well. However, those numbers they may go down, they may go up, but I can tell you they've got more users on the system now, so chances of those getting adjusted in a down fashion are probably good. I really can't say which way it's going, and I don't think they know yet, but they're making some adjustments. They've been great to work with, so I can't imagine that anything awry is really going to happen there. But so you can see the difference in monthly costs, and like I said, this would have to go up just to try and bring more money into the township's coffers to cover the cost of your system. Everybody understand that slide? You're more than welcome to ask questions at any point, or you can wait till later. Okay, so we talked about, in a nutshell, what have we done over the last 14 months? We've talked about the options. We've talked about the selected option, the cost to the user. Okay, so now we're sitting here. We've got a pledge from Rural Development for a grant. We've had some meetings with the tribe to talk about the possibility of connecting the system. It looks like it's a win-win for both, so both sides have said let's continue to work together and see where we can go with this. The next step would really be to work with the tribe in more detail and draft an agreement between the two entities to help solidify some of those things we've talked about and help hash out some of the things that we haven't. All right, and get that all on paper. Good contracts make for good relationships, so this is a very, very important part. complete the funding application to rural development. We need to amend the current funding package that the township has in place to add in the new portion of the project so that they can then go to their big pot of money and carve out a certain percentage of that and set it aside and stamp it Filer Township. Okay? Now, the caveat to this is they want this application, this amended application, by March 1st of this year so they can review it and obligate that money by the end of March, meaning this first quarter, to the township. So, rural development gets a pot of money each year and it goes away as people apply. So if this was October, it would be a different story because that pot of money dwindles as the season goes. So having this come up now is a good situation for the township because they've just been funded and obligated their money for the season. They really want to see this go forward. So then from that point, the next steps would be if everything gets approved to go forward, complete the system design over the next year. Gain permits. We'd have to get permits to go under the lake, under the river, permits to construct a wastewater system. Hopefully receive bids about this time next year. Late winter, early spring is the best. Late winter is the best time to receive bids because you've got contractors that are getting their schedules ready for the construction season. That's usually when you get your best costs from a contractor, is in the winter. And then begin construction in early summer of 2016. Now, construction of this project, well, I would anticipate it to be 2 bid contracts, one for the force main and one for the collection system. It would speed things up, but it's going to be a lengthy construction process. So, with that, we boiled a lot of stuff down to 15, 20 minutes, but I'm open for questions if anybody has any.
Why don't you talk about the pipe that we did in the others?
The force main? Sure. The material of the force main is important to us as engineers and you as a township. Obviously, once we put it in the ground, you don't ever want to see it again. You don't ever want to have to mess with it again. But essentially what it would be is it's called HDPE, or high-density polyethylene. And it's very much like the same material that you use for irrigation systems in your lawns, that black pipe that comes on a roll. This has got, a few more characteristics to it that help it take a bigger pressure. The walls are thicker, the diameter is bigger, but essentially it's the same stuff. When we go underneath the lake, it will be one solid piece of pipe, no joints. There'll be joints that are welded together. It's all fused together in one big long piece. So we don't have to worry about a leaky joint. They're all tested on the surface before it even goes in the ground. So what they do is the machine, it's a directional drilling machine. They'd get on dry land on this side. They would drill underneath the lake and pop up on the other side. And they've got sensors. They can tell where that whole drill head is going. And they can turn it, they can come up and down. It's amazing what they can do. They would pop up on the other side. They'd grab the pipe that has been laid on the ground and fused together and ready to go. And then they'd just pull it right back through when they pull that drill head back through. And then from there, we would still use the same material to get all the way to Kennedy School.
What are you looking at coming up on the other side?
We don't know yet. We've got ideas on where we want to go. Township doesn't own any property there yet, nor do we have any easements, but essentially just north of Martin Marietta, where the farthest, let's say, southwestern point of East Lake Road is, so that we can get to East Lake Road quickest. I know Martin Marietta is not going to want us to pop up in the middle of their operation, so the farther north we can get, the better. But the cost to secure property on both sides is all figured into the project. But that would really once the decision is you've got the money, we're going. That first step is to secure those locations so we know where everything's going to go and that nature. So
Brian?
Yes.
What's the process to get that done?
To get what done?
Under the water, under the lake.
What do we need to well, we've got to get there's 2 permits through the DEQ that would be needed. There's several permits that are needed, actually. A soil erosion permit would be one, a Part 303 permit, which allows us to go through wetlands, cross streams, go under lakes. And there's also a Part 41 permit, which is the sanitary sewer collection system permit. Those two, the 303 and 41, are all permits through the DEQ. I've already talked to them about this. They're aware of it. Matter of fact, I talked to them yesterday. I said, I don't want you to be blindsided by the paper and get a bunch of phone calls. So I talked to them about it before they could hear it third hand, fourth hand, fifth hand. But just for doing that, there's probably 3, maybe 4 permits that we need to do to drill underneath the lake. Does that answer your
Timeline on that.
It would take, the drill itself would probably take 2 weeks.
Process for the permits?
The permits, they can take 6 months for the Part 303, because they've got to go through a public notice period, take public comment, have a public hearing. And those are some of the things that we apply for first. As soon as we would probably start design on the force main under the lake so we can get that permit applied for and get that ball rolling so that come springtime we've got everything in order. So we try and, it's like a chess game. You figure out what are our long lead time items. We got to start those first so we get them in line. So, but the Part 41 permit, just to construct the sewer system, those are much shorter. You don't need to go out for a public hearing on those. But the wetlands and the lake and stream crossings you do. Yes?
How big of a line is that?
It'll all depend on the sewage flow. I'm guessing it'll be probably 4-inch, between 4 and 6. What we want to do is make sure that line we put under there will serve all those phases of the township that we just talked about. But there are some things that as engineers we need to make sure we adhere to, and there's a certain velocity that has to go through that pipe, and as we make the pipe bigger, the velocity would slow down. Okay, as we make it smaller, the velocity speeds up when we're trying to push a certain volume through it. So those are all kind of the iterative processes that we have to go through to make sure that the velocity is fast enough to scour out any solids. We don't want solids settling, so we got to keep it going through there fast enough. But we don't want it so, we don't want it so small that the head requirement or the pressure requirement to force it through that pipe is so high. So, but I'm guessing 4 to 6 inch. Based on the flows that you would see at full build-out.
Is there a backup system in case a pump fails?
The pump station that would be installed is called a duplex system, so there's 2 pumps. Each pump would be capable to handle the system by itself. And what we do is we alternate those pumps so they get exercised. So one pump will run, and then when it's done, when it pumps the sewage down far enough, it shuts off. Okay, then it waits for it to fill back up. Might take 3 hours. It all depends on the design. And then when it fills up, the other pump then pumps it. So we alternate pumps. So if one pump goes down, you can run 24/7 on one pump while we fix the other one. The other thing that's kind of backup is there will be a generator that is what we call a pad-mounted generator, dedicated just for that lift station. Because if you can't pump sewage, everybody upstream is up a creek. So if the power goes out, we need to still be able to provide power because people can still use water because the tanks are full. They can still open their faucets. They can still use the toilet. So we still got to be able to pump that sewage. So there's 2 pumps, and there will be a generator there on site in case there's a power failure.
How many of those are we going to need?
The way it looks now, just 1. Yeah, you look at the project and you say, wow, even from here to get under the lake and up to Kennedy School, it seems like quite a ways, but in the sewage world, that's done on a routine basis. That's not an insurmountable distance. It's done quite often. I think there was a gentleman here the other day that said he used to work on a system where they pumped at 10 miles. So that's 3 miles is.
Guys up there to Livingston?
They do. As a matter of fact, that's right. Yeah. So it's not.
Will the township have to have an employee to work on this side of it, or will they provide that support for the system on this side?
The system that we're talking about installing would be fully owned and operated by the township. Okay, so the township would need somebody to operate that for them. And there's ways to do that. Either you hire somebody on staff to operate it, but in all reality, this system is I would consider it a small system. The pipes themselves don't need a whole lot of attention from an operator. It's the mechanical systems that they need to be there, make sure things are right, take flow measurements, grease the pumps, grease the shafts, whatever it might be. And if you only have one pump station, then that significantly reduces the time. So what would probably be the best option would be for the township to contract, hire a contractor to operate that for them, because it's such a small period of time. You don't need to have a 40-hour employee here checking the pumps, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. It's very similar to what you do with your water system. You have a contract operator. Does that answer your question?
I got two questions, Brian. If construction were to begin in the spring of 2016, what would you anticipate completion to be for both components?
For our system, probably 8 months to a year. Now, there's a whole coordination effort that we need to, once this gets down the road or gets a little farther, we need to sit down with the tribe and say, okay, what's your schedule for the Manistee Township project? Because we're essentially tying into that. So all that hinges on, coordinating both of these together and kind of meeting in the middle, building a bridge from both sides and trying to meet in the middle kind of thing. So.
Okay, then my other question concerned your one slide. The local contribution slide, rural development loan, showing the cost of the collection system at $4,035,900. Now, we have a loan from rural development obligator already for $3.83 million, which is the difference between that. Am I assuming correctly then the contribution of the DDA going into it, $500,000? That's that difference then is the loan that we're obligated, the 3.83.
Well, I don't know if I fully understand your question.
Well,
let me say this. This is your old loan. This will be your new loan.
Okay.
Dollar amount. Okay, so it's not an additional $4 million. You're going from a loan of 3.8 to a loan of 4.0 or 4.0.
He's talking about possibly amending it to that amount.
Yeah, well, okay. I was just, subtracting the old loan amount from the new, and that the difference happens to be $500,000 if I'm seeing the figures correctly. Although
They're on a slant.
The difference between the old loan amount and the new is $162,000.
Oh, okay, then I'm not seeing.
Yeah, no, it's
Okay.
Yeah, it's $162,000.
And then just for clarification, that the grant that rural development is talking about, 45%, that's of the total combined cost of both systems.
That's correct. Yep. So just this. Well, yeah, there it is. Sorry. The total project for everything, commercial district and the force main, is 7.8. So, after the contribution and the 45% grant ends up being $3.3 million, based on that total project cost.
Any other questions of Brian?
Who owns the system? The township and the local government?
The township will own the system that we're talking about, being the collection system in the commercial district here, and the force main getting to Kennedy School. From there on, it's my understanding that the tribe will own that system from there on. Now, I don't know what kind of agreement they have with Manistee Township on how that will be owned and operated, but Filer Township will own the collection system here and the force main to get to Kennedy School and operate it. Yep.
What kind of a draft agreement are you looking for? A draft agreement for what?
You mean as far as working with the tribe?
Between the township and the Little River Band.
That will be something that's drafted by the attorney.
And it'll be a draft agreement saying what?
well, that the tribe is saying, okay, we Filer Township and we the tribe agree to work together. The tribe says we'll accept your sewage at these rates with the option to increase fees as needed, based on rate schedules. And we will accept 200,000 gallons a day of wastewater from you. And if you go over, here's penalties. I'm just pulling that number out of the sky. It'll also talk about ownership and operation. It'll probably talk about condition of the sewage when it gets to the tribe. Because one of the things that we have to make sure is that the condition of the sewage when they get it is in good condition. What I mean by that, how do you have sewage in good condition? When sewage is in a forest main for any length of time, it can create an anaerobic saturation and then produce acid and hydrogen sulfide. If you've ever smelled the rotten egg smell, that's a hydrogen sulfide gas. When you have sewage sit in a pipe like that for a long time, that's what happens. And when it comes out the other end, it mixes with oxygen. Now you're producing an acidic situation, and anything that's concrete or metal gets eaten away very quickly. Concrete turns spongy, metal rusts. So what we want to make sure is what we send them doesn't create issues on their end. So that's something that would be in the contract as well. Probably the length of the contract, we'll accept it for X amount of years, or it's, a whole host of things of that nature.
This underground line, who services that, the township?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we would, there's things that we need to accommodate for or account for on both sides so that it can be cleaned with a polypig or something of similar nature. Polypig is basically a basketball looking thing that you put in the pipe, and pump turns on and it forces, the sewage forces that ball all the way through as it scours the sides of the pipe and pushes all that stuff out the other side. You don't want to be there when it comes out the other side, but trust me, that's what happens.
Was that like a big thing using the pipeline?
Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
We use it in water mains as well to clean them out. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Brian.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate you being here.
Yep.
And at this time, I guess we, as a board, need to decide, make a motion to continue exploring the options.
And the DDA, as I understand it, has hired Mr. Williams to do this draft agreement?
Yes, and we will, we should
Sorry, would you repeat that, please? I did not hear what you said.
I asked Terry if the DDA has hired Mr. Williams to draft that agreement.
Yes, they have, and we should probably, as a township board, just also make a motion to approve that hire of the DDA, that the DDA is making of Eric Williams. But I think first we need to look at a motion for continued exploration, working with the tribe to come up with an agreement.
I'll make a motion
I'll second.
with the understanding that the Township Ad Hoc Sewer Committee and DDA have completed the methodology and list of all options for handling wastewater treatment in the township for the past year. And based on the Ad Hoc Sewer Committee's recommendation, I move that the township begin to work in partnership and collaboration with the Little River Band of Ottawa Indians to develop an agreement to connect Filer Township wastewater treatment collection system to and have wastewater treated by the Little River Band of Ottawa Indians wastewater treatment facility.
Okay, so we have a motion by Hachinsky, a second by Cruz. Any questions, comments? Ready to vote on that? Do you want to do a roll call on that, Shirley?
Ball, yes. Walker,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Scarra,
Yes.
Kalinowski,
Yes.
Pachinsky,
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. And I would like to make a motion to recommend that the Township Board approve the hire of Eric Williams, attorney, by the DDA to handle the legalities of the contractual agreement and other details related to ensuring infrastructure development.
I will second.
Motion by Walker, second by Kalinowski to approve the DDA's hire of Eric Williams. Any discussion? You want to do a roll call on that also, Shirley?
okay. Pachinsky, Cruz,
Yes.
Williams,
Here.
Ball, yes. Scarra,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Kalinowski,
Yes.
Okay. That takes us to new business. We have 8 items to take care of here. Item A is consideration of approval of a resolution to establish the trustees' annual salary. And you have that in your packet. And I would make a motion that we approve the presented resolution to establish the trustees' annual salary.
I'll second that.
Motion by Walker, second by Scarra, to approve the resolution to establish the trustees' annual salary. Shirley, we need a roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Ball, yes. Scarra,
Yes.
Kalinowski,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Pachinsky,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Okay, item B is consideration of approval of resolution to establish the treasurer's annual salary. It's also in your packet.
I so move.
Support.
Motion by Cruz, second by Pachinsky, to approve the resolution to establish the treasurer's annual salary. Roll call, Shirley?
Walker,
Yes.
Ball, yes. Scarra,
Yes.
Kalinowski,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Pachinsky,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Item C is consideration of approval of a resolution to establish the supervisor's annual salary.
I so move.
Second.
Motion by Cruz, second by Kalinowski, to approve the resolution establishing the supervisor's annual salary. Shirley, roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Ball, yes. Scarra,
Yes.
Kalinowski,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Pachinsky,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Item D is consideration of approval of resolution establishing the clerk's annual salary.
I so move.
I second it.
Motion by Cruz, second by Scarra, to approve the resolution establishing the clerk's annual salary. Roll call, Shirley.
Walker,
Yes.
Ball, yes. Scarra,
Yes.
Kalinowski,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Pachinsky,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Okay, item E, you have in your packet the resolution establishing poverty guidelines for exemption from property tax contributions.
I so move. Support.
Motion by Cruz, second by Hachinsky, to approve the resolution establishing poverty guidelines for exemption from property tax contributions. Would you do a roll call, Shirley?
Ball, yes. Walker,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Scarra,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Pachinsky,
Yes.
Kalinowski.
Yes.
Item F is consideration of approval of the investment in depository designation resolution.
Is all our money protected?
Yes.
Yes.
You mean by FDIC? Yes.
Yes.
Because I know they passed something.
Yeah.
I so move.
I'll second.
Motion by Cruz, second by Kalinowski to approve the investment depository designation resolution. A roll call, Shirley?
Kalinowski,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Pachinsky,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Ball, yes. Scarra,
Yes.
Item G is consideration of a proposed contractual services agreement whereby the County of Manistee agrees to provide the necessary personnel and computer services for tax map and assessment roll maintenance, tax rolls and tax bills under current legal requirements to the Charter Township of Filer for the 2015 calendar year at a cost of $3.96 per parcel.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Kalinowski, second by Scarra, to approve the proposed contractual services agreement with the County of Manistee for tax collection purposes. Shirley, would you do a roll call, please?
Scarra,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Ball, yes. Cruz,
Yes.
Pachinsky,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Kalinowski.
Yes.
And the last one, item H, is consideration of proposed contractual services agreement, SET, summer tax collection between Manistee County and the Charter Township of Filer, whereby the County of Manistee agrees to provide the Charter Township of Filer with the necessary personnel, materials, equipment, and technology to prepare the summer tax billing for the state education tax 2015 collection at a cost of $1 per parcel.
I so move. Support.
Motion by Cruz, support by Williams to approve the proposed contractual services agreement with Manistee County. Roll call, Shirley?
Williams,
Yes.
Pachinsky,
Yes.
Kalinowski,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Ball, yes. Cruz,
Yes.
Scarra.
Yes.
Okay, public comment. Any public comment at this time?
Sounds like the sewer's doing, sounds like the sewer is doing good.
Well, we've done a lot of study and a lot of exploration of different options, and yes, we're moving. Any other public comment? Then I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
No motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Scarra, second by Kalinowski to